The top stories. Transport Minister hits out at bus repairmen on day 2 of a strike. Schools told they may have to raise their own funds. And the Dalai Lama is to bless the Windies in India. Welcome to Nation News for Tuesday, October the 14th, 2014.
No matter where you are in the world, at home or abroad, Nation News keeps you connected with what's happening in Barbados through our website, video newscast, and online e-papers. So stay connected with Nation News. Your time, your way.
The Transport Minister's talking tough on the second day of a strike by the mechanics who repair Transport Board buses. Workers at UCAL have set aside their tools for the second time in 2 weeks. But the Minister, Michael Lashley, says he will not allow the company to hold government and the travelling public to ransom. Workers say they are fed up with unfulfilled promises that salaries and operating expenses would be paid and that repayment of a debt reported to be in excess of $20 million would begin. During a tour of 2 bus terminals, Mr. Lashley chastised them for speaking publicly, saying he does not negotiate in the press. He also hinted at changing the contract with UCAL, saying there were people at the Transport Board already fixing buses. Economist Jeremy Stephen has handed principals of public secondary schools a basket of ideas for funding their own school operations in light of government's tight finances. Mr. Stephen, who is the president of the Barbados Economic Society, said schools will have a financing gap given a budget cut of $4 million proposed for secondary education over the next 3 years. He suggested alternative funding avenues such as remittances, diaspora bonds, an education venture fund, and calling on the alumni for support. Mr. Stephen offered the solutions at the annual general meeting of the Barbados Association of Principals of Public Secondary Schools. A local egg producer says the importation of powdered or dried eggs has contributed to a drop in egg sales. As a result, Managing Director of Star Chick Wendell Clark is reprimanding hotels which source the product from overseas. He insists that Barbadian egg producers are more than capable of supplying all the eggs needed for the hotel sector. Mr. Clark said no local farmers were producing powdered eggs, but his company was moving to do so shortly. A resident of St. Lucie is Barbados' newest centenarian. Ursula Carroll Sobers of Pie Corner celebrated her 100th birthday in the company of Governor General Sir Elliot Belgrave, St. Lucie MP Dennis Kelman, and family members. The soft-spoken former plantation worker said one of the reasons for her long life was her trust and belief in God. Men's rights advocate Ralph Boyce isn't backing down from his controversial call for DNA tests of all children at birth. Despite the backlash and public outcry that followed his comments in April last year, he insists it is the right thing to do to avoid not just paternity issues, but health problems. The chairman of the Men's Educational Support Association was speaking at the monthly meeting of the St. John's Primary School PTA over the weekend. Mr. Boyce said MISA had backed off the issue for a while because some people had skeletons in their cupboard, to quote him. Dodds Prison held its annual Health and Wellness Day during Prison Week on Monday. Coordinator Sophia Sandiford said prison officers' jobs were very stressful and health events were therefore critical in encouraging them to live healthy lifestyles.
Health is very important. The job in itself is a very stressful job. We want to provide an avenue so persons can have their various tests done. They may not be able to get off work on time to go and get such things done. So it's very important that we bring it to the staff, right? Make it more accessible for them to participate in these activities.
School children have been encouraged to use their easy access to the internet and social media to put forward solutions to issues like violence in schools, child abuse, and childhood obesity. The suggestion came on Monday from UNICEF representative Kin Lu Win during the launch of a speech festival. She said children had varied experiences and opinions to share.
Children from well-endowed families will not know the pains of those living in poverty. Children in a well-protected and loving home will not know the pains of those who are neglected and abused, and vice versa. But by reaching out and listening to each other, the dialogue is just as important among you, among young people, just as it is for us to dialogue as adults with young people.
Next on Nation News, Carol Martindale with this week's commentary.
Abandoned vehicles, old tires, overgrown house lots, discarded buckets and pails, even underground receptacles. These are all ideal breeding grounds for mosquitoes. And not just any mosquito, but the dreaded Aedes aegypti mosquito, the carrier of the dengue and now chikungunya viruses. Officially, less than 50 people have been affected by the illness. But in reality, many more may have been knocked down and left with severe joint pain, headache, and nausea. But it doesn't have to be so. We all need to pay special attention to our surroundings, eliminating all possible mosquito breeding grounds. Rather than waiting on the health authorities, let's do something to rid abandoned properties or overgrown housing lots next to us of the mosquitoes. Keep your surroundings inside and outside as tidy as possible. This is the best way to have a healthy and safe country.
In sport, the Dalai Lama will bless the Indian and West Indian cricketers just before the start of the 4th one-day international in the city of Dharamsala on Friday. The Tibetan spiritual leader will also tie Tibetan scarves around the players' necks. No word on whether he'll be asked to pray for peace in West Indies cricket, given the public fallout among the players and the representatives in the past week. Both India and the West Indies go into the contest tied at 1-1 in the 5-match series, with the third match being cancelled due to Cyclone Hadat. The national under-17 football team will fly out on Wednesday for Haiti to take part in Caribbean qualifiers for the 2015 under-17 World Cup. The qualifying spots, 2 of them, are available. The hosts, Trinidad and Tobago and St. Lucia, are expected to provide the Bajan teenagers with tough competition, but coach Colin Haywood says his team is prepared. And finally, police in New Orleans in the United States say a stolen cell phone used to take pictures of armed robbery suspects uploaded the snapshots to the victim's cloud account. The New Orleans Police Department said 2 armed men approached 3 young women last Friday and demanded their purses and phones. Investigators said the men used one of the victims' phones to take multiple pictures of themselves, including a picture of the 2 suspects and a third man holding what appears to be handguns. Police were able to retrieve the pictures from the victim's cloud account. Police said the pictures helped to identify one of the men, and he's being sought along with the second suspect, whose identity is not known to police. And that's Nation News for Tuesday. For more, visit nationnews.com as well as YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. And get to a Midweek Nation at Newsstands on Wednesday, or subscribe to our e-paper.